I've been awake for 37 hours. I stopped counting after that. The city I grew up in. The one with the neon signs and the morning rush and the smell of street food at 6 a.m. It doesn't exist anymore. What's left is something that breathes wrong. First rule, high ground. Not because you're safer up here, you're not. Because from here you can see the patterns. And the pattern right now is, don't go south. Whatever happened in the south last night, it's still moving. Day 1. I write everything down. Not for memory, memory dies with you. I write it down because a plan written is a plan you can argue with. And right now I need to argue with myself about every single decision before I make it. The ones who rushed, I watched them from up here. They're not rushing anymore. They move slower than the movie said. But they're quieter. A lot quieter. The problem isn't the ones you see. It's the ones you don't hear until the floor creaks under them. Rule 2. Never enter any space without counting exits first. The convenience store on Calle 8 has a front door, a back storeroom door, and a window above the freezer aisle. 3 ways in, 3 ways out. The risk is acceptable. The alternative, going another day without water, is not. I don't know what startled me more. The sound from the ceiling tiles, or the fact that whatever landed behind me wasn't dead. She had been hiding in this store for 2 days. She'd already mapped the building, counted the zombies in a 3-block radius, and blocked the back door with a refrigerator. She was smarter than 90% of the people I went to college with. The logical move was to keep her. Emotionally, I wasn't sure about anything yet. We found a hand crank radio behind the register. Most stations. Static. One station, 3 words, repeating. Quarantine Zone North. That was it. No government instructions. No rescue timeline. No cause. Whatever this was, it moved faster than the people who were supposed to stop it. Night 1. The store works as a hold. But it's not a base. Too many entry points. Too close to the south drift. We need somewhere defensible. Somewhere elevated. Somewhere that has at least 30 days of survivability. I knew exactly one building in the city that fit all 3, and it was 8 blocks north, directly through a market district I had no intelligence on. Rule 3. Move between 4 and 6 a.m. Low ambient noise. Infected are at their lowest activity, we don't know why yet, but the pattern is consistent. We had 45 minutes to cover 8 blocks. I gave us 30. The market block was worse than I mapped. 18 contacts minimum, maybe more behind the stalls. The math said go around. The time said go through. We went through. Slow. Silent. Every breath measured. She saw something at the flower stall. A child's shoe. Just one. She stopped for half a second. Her shoulder clipped a hanging pot. The sound it made, I still hear it. The archive tower. 7 floors. Reinforced glass and steel. I bolted the lobby door with a car axle I pulled from the parking structure. No infected inside. Clean. Cold. For about 40 seconds, I let myself feel something close to relief. Then I started counting what we needed. 7 floors. I cleared them all before we set up on floor 5, low enough for fast exit, high enough to avoid ground floor breaches. The building had a cafeteria. 43 days of canned food if rationed at 1,200 calories each. A rooftop water tank still full. And in the security room on floor 2, a server rack that was still running on backup power. That last detail, I didn't know yet how important it would become. Day 3 is always the system's day. Anyone can survive day 1 on adrenaline. Day 2 on willpower. Day 3 is where you build the machine, or you start dying slowly instead of fast. She hadn't said anything about the arm. I noticed on day 1 the way she favored the right when carrying weight, the way she changed the wrapping when she thought I wasn't watching. I asked once. She said, animal scratch. I wrote in my journal, check on day 5. Verify. I already suspected. I just didn't want to be right. 43 days of food sounds like a lot. It isn't. Not if something goes wrong. Not if we need to run. Not if we need to stay longer. I needed medicine and I needed more rope, and I needed to know what was in the pharmacy 3 blocks east before someone else got to it. That night, something triggered a migration. Hundreds of them moving north through the city. Not random, directional. Like something was pulling them. I watched from the roof for 2 hours. I counted. And when I stopped, I wrote one sentence in my journal. Something is calling them north. The same direction the radio told us to go. Day 5, Rhea showed no fever. No discoloration. No aggression. No light sensitivity. By every known indicator I could verify with zero medical infrastructure, she wasn't turning. I cleaned the wound with what I found in the pharmacy. I sutured it myself. I don't know if the infection in this city behaves differently for some people. I don't know if she's immune. I wrote down every observation. Because if she's immune, that changes everything. The server rack on floor 2 had been running off the building's emergency battery backup. I finally sat down with it on day 5. IT was never my field, but I know systems. And this system had been doing something since before we arrived. Pinging a repeating signal north. Automated. Regular. Like a beacon. Or a trap. We tried to transmit on the radio frequency the server was using. At 9 p.m., the response came at 9:02. A human voice, calm, precise, like someone who had been expecting us. They knew. Somehow they knew. Which meant either they had surveillance on this area or someone in this building reported to them, or, the possibility I liked least, they had been watching the herd migration and they could read who was bitten by how the infected passed around certain individuals. Any of those options meant we were already being studied. And that meant North was more dangerous than a herd. North was organized. Rule 4. If you walk into an unknown situation, you walk in with 3 times the preparation you think you need, and a clear exit plan before you cross the threshold. I spent day 6 doing exactly that. I wasn't going north because they asked. I was going north because I needed the data. And I wrote this in my journal and immediately crossed it out, Rhea deserved a chance. The north run was different from any movement we'd done before. The herd had passed through, yes, but they left traces, slower stragglers, disturbed environments, collapsed structures from sheer mass pressure. The city north of the archive tower looked like something had been through it. Something organized. I heard them before I saw them. Not infected. Boots. Deliberate footsteps. For sets, minimum. Positioned. That's not survival behavior, that's military spacing. Someone had been tracking us since we left the tower. Her name was Mira. She knew the radio frequency, the archive tower's backup battery runtime, and the exact location of the pharmacy I had raided. She had been watching this district for weeks before the outbreak got bad. The question that kept cycling in my head. Watching it for whom? I ran the variables in 6 seconds. Data points. Mira's team has intel infrastructure, that means communication, which means a larger group. Rhea's potential immunity is a resource they want, which means they have a reason to keep us alive. Danger. If they have the means to study her, they also have the means to take her and eliminate me as a liability. Outcome probability weighted toward going. Condition. I don't go blind. Moving with Mira's team was a different kind of tension. They were disciplined. But twice on the 2-kilometer walk, I noticed things that didn't fit. Dead infected, but the wounds were surgical. Clean. Not desperate survival wounds. And the bioluminescent fungi became denser the further north we went. As if the city itself was being prepared. For something. Station 7 was a converted underground transit hub, 3 floors below ground. Solar arrays on the surface, camouflaged as rubble. 83 survivors. Clean water. A lab. And a man who introduced himself as Dr. Cole, who smiled at Rhea like she was the most important person alive. That smile was the most frightening thing I had seen all week. Cole explained it in the lab. The infection has a 99.2% conversion rate. But 0.8% of the population carries a genetic variant, a specific protein structure in the immune response that allows partial or complete resistance. He called them carriers. And he said, they had been mapping potential carriers in this district for 3 years before the outbreak. 3 years. This wasn't an accident. None of it was. Cole wanted a blood draw from Rhea. Just a sample, he said. Standard confirmation test. Rhea looked at me. I looked at him. And something in the way his assistant was already prepping 2 vials, not 1, told me this wasn't a test. This was the beginning of something neither of us had agreed to. While Rhea rested, I walked the station alone. In the second maintenance corridor, someone had written on the wall in bioluminescent material, invisible in light, visible in darkness. 6 words. I turned off my torch to read them. They said, the fungi controls them. Cole knows. I didn't go loud. I went logical. I laid out the evidence in sequence. The pre-planted beacon. The mapped carriers. The fungi growing on an engineered route. The herd migration controlled by a signal. The second vial. Cole listened to all of it. He didn't deny a single point. When I finished, he said, you're the first person to walk in here and understand all of it in 7 days. Pause. That's why you're more important than you think. The outbreak wasn't an accident. It was a test. A biotech firm had been running a contained urban trial, a modified pathogen designed to activate dormant human immunity variants. The city was the petri dish. The carriers were the target group. The fungi was their delivery system for a protective compound that was supposed to save them. Something went wrong in the trial. The pathogen mutated. And the containment failed. Cole was the lead researcher. He had been trying to fix it ever since. In the ruins of everything he built. She was standing in the doorway. I don't know how long. She had heard enough. The test. The city. What she was. She looked at Cole like he was the infection itself. Then she looked at me. And for the first time since we met, I had no words ready. There was nothing logical to say to someone who just found out the world ended because of an experiment they were unknowingly part of. I found her in the highest accessible point of Station 7. A ventilation catwalk above the main hall. She was watching the survivors below. I sat beside her. She didn't tell me to leave. For a while we just watched people trying to be people in a place that had no reason to have people in it. That felt like something. 7 days. We're alive. We have shelter, water, a direction, allies I don't fully trust and an enemy I don't fully understand. The city above is the worst thing that has ever happened to this place. And somewhere in that city, 80,000 people didn't make it through the first week. I write all of this down, because someone should. I went back to the maintenance corridor at 2 a.m. New message. Same bioluminescent material. For words this time. They have been selected. I stood in the dark and I thought about what that meant for a long time. And then a door opened down the corridor. And someone stepped out and saw me. Someone who should not have been in that section of Station 7. Someone I recognized. Someone who died before any of this started. 7 days. I survived the first week. I found shelter, water, food, and a purpose. I found a partner I can trust. I found the people who made this happen. And I found, in a corridor in the dark, a variable I had not accounted for. That's the difference between surviving day 1 and surviving everything after. Day 1, you just need to be lucky. Every day after that, you need to be paying attention.
Tap Station 7.
Jump zone.
Subject 001. Activate.